Hi everyone, Jacquie Edwards here again. Sorry, a bit late again today. It's been a hectic few days. I'm actually at home today, if you can see my normal kind of background here. And I'm still in my gym clothes after yoga this morning. So today I'm having a bit more of a relaxed day by being able to be home and getting some admin work done. Now, that's one of the things I kind of wanted to talk about quickly today is the admin side. My internet connection's a bit rubbish. One of the perks about living out in a rural location, we have quite poor internet. So, anyways, I am working on admin today. So a big part of that is kind of our bookkeeping and keeping up with that. So I do have an accounting background, so I was an accountant before. I didn't actually deal a lot with numbers, to be honest. I did more of the kind of technical side of accounting. I won't go into too many details because it's not very exciting. So numbers actually isn't my best thing, but luckily with the accounting background, I do understand how to do the accounts. So today I've been doing and catching up on the bookkeeping. So in order to help us do our bookkeeping, I do most of it. We use a cloud accounting software called Xero. And I know a lot of property investors use Xero, and a lot of just other businesses use Xero. It's Xero. It's a really great accounting bookkeeping software. We actually had our bookkeeper set everything up for us so that all the accounts were in there, and all of the reports would kind of come out the way we wanted them to. So it's all set up. It's really great. It basically pulls in all the transactions from our bank account, so it automatically pulls in everything that we spend on our bank account or all the income that comes in, and we simply have to just match most of it up. Unfortunately, with our bank, it doesn't do quite all of the fancy features that Xero can do. So if you're using HSBC, you won't get as many fancy features. If you're using some other bank accounts, you can match things up a lot more easily with reference numbers, but HSBC doesn't do that quite as well. Anyways, so that's what I've been doing today. Our financial year ends in December, so just getting our accounts ready for sending over to our accountants for December 2015 year end. Everything's due about 9 months later, so we do have a limited company that we run our rent-to-rent business through, and we started off with this limited company. So before I did property investing, I did freelance accounting, and I did it through a limited company. So we simply just changed the name of my accounting company, which was J. Edwards Accounting Limited, switched that over to Jade Property Solutions Limited, and moved in and just doing solely focusing on property within that business. Over the last year, I have been doing a lot of coaching and mentoring and training up to the point where we've got enough income and enough happening in there to split off a second limited company. So we've got Jade Success Limited, where we do kind of coaching and mentoring and business training through. My partner is also director and shareholder in that, so he runs his kind of property systems business through that. And we simply did that to start managing some of the VAT concerns, because we do get some of our rental income does attract VAT based on the types of contracts that we use. And of course, any kind of training and service providing would attract VAT once we got above the threshold. So by splitting the two kind of separate businesses off, property from kind of service providing, we're able to manage that just a little bit better. So hopefully we won't have to start charging VAT for our products, because nobody really likes to pay an extra 20%. So I think it's really important, going back to kind of the key things that I wanted to talk about, is bookkeeping. So a lot of people struggle with, doing your bookkeeping, keeping on top of, receipts and monthly incomes and outgoings. I highly recommend keeping up to date on this on at least a monthly basis, so you should constantly be watching your cash flow. Cash flow is probably the most important thing for businesses that are just getting started, and it's one of the main reasons why businesses fail in the beginning, or any time really. It's because they're not managing their cash flow. So, looking at your balance sheet and your profit and loss statement, those are great. Maybe do those on a quarterly basis, but you should be managing your cash flow and understanding what's going in and what's coming out on at least a monthly basis, probably preferably on a weekly basis, and be forecasting that through, sorry, for I would say at least 12 to 24 months so that you know what's going to be happening in your business going forward to the future. And it's probably, we do this on a property by property basis. So within our Xero bookkeeping, we've got different categories and we've been able to split out by property. So I can pull up each property in Xero and look at what it's doing, what cash we've spent on it, what cash is coming in, and where exactly we're at with the profitability of that property. You also want to be able to make sure you're doing this again going forward so you can forecast your future cash flow. So it's really great if you're taking on loads and loads of new projects, loads and loads of new business, but there generally is a cost associated with all of those. So if you have, you're doing some advertising, you need to be projecting out how much advertising are you going to do over the next 12 months? How much is that going to cost you on a monthly basis? Are you doing leafleting? How much do the leaflets cost? How much does actually having someone deliver those leaflets for you? How much does that cost? And have that in a spreadsheet projecting out, every month I'm going to spend £200 a month on advertising. And you'll have to have your starting figure. So, you have to set aside a budget for how much do you want to spend on your business to get it up and running. So if you say I'm starting with £10,000 and that has to kind of cover everything to get me up and running, and we'll use rent to rent as an example. So if you start with £10,000, you need to deduct your monthly marketing costs, so cost of leaflets, cost of doing any mailings, cost of your kind of all call answering service, cost of doing business cards. So having all of those and projecting those costs out on a monthly basis, because if you order 100 business cards, you might be going to loads of networking meetings, you're going to have to order 100 more in a couple of months. So it's making sure you're forecasting for what you're going to need in the future. Also, it's great, you're taking on loads of properties, you're taking on loads of rent-to-rent deals. There is an upfront cost associated with those. So if you know that you want 10 new properties in the next 12 months, you need to be forecasting out how much are each of those properties going to cost you up front, how long do you, how much profit do you want to make from them on a monthly basis, so that you can make sure you're not going to run out of cash. Because it'd be great, you've signed 6 contracts, but you haven't actually made it, so maybe your ROI is you get all of your money back after 6 months. So those first kind of 6 projects, those first 5 projects, you haven't made any money back yet because it's still in the first couple of months. You need to make sure you're not going to run out of cash until you get all of your money back. And I'm probably not explaining this very well, but this is a really, really important concept that a lot of people miss out on, is managing that cash flow. Because you can take on that project and say, yes, I'm going to make, £1,000 a month, but it might take a little while for you to start making that £1,000 a month, or for that £1,000 a month to build back up your fund. And if you're doing loads of other projects, or if you've miscalculated on your budget a little bit, or you haven't calculated in any advertising costs or costs of any other systems, you might find yourself in a bit of a trouble. So always make sure that you're doing a cash flow forecast, and always make sure that you've got a bit of a cash buffer set aside as well. So when we got started, we had a chat with our bank about getting an overdraft set up in place. So we did start with some money ahead of time, but I always wanted to make sure, if the tenants didn't pay on time, or if some of the bills came out before I got the rents, that we would have enough money in our bank account to cover that. And we did that using an overdraft. So I set that up specifically with our bank. There was, again, an upfront cost to setting this up, but we now have a £10,000 overdraft, so I know that, we're covered up to £10,000 if there are some slippages in time between when money comes in and when money goes out. So make sure you have that, and make sure you're monitoring your cash flow. Whether you use a bookkeeper, which can be absolutely great, so if you just put all your envelopes, your receipts in an envelope every month and send them off to your bookkeeper, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you're using somebody that's sending you back regular reports so that you can see exactly how your business is doing at that moment, and you can have some kind of projection so you can see how things are going to be going in the future. Project to a point when you'll run out of money if that happens, so that you can understand what you need to do to prevent that, and you can constantly be assessing where you're at in your business. And it'll also allow you to run some scenarios. So again, we've taken on staff. We're looking at taking on more team members. So we're able to run different scenarios in kind of our cash flow forecast to say, well, if we pay them £12 an hour, this is how it'll affect our profits. If we pay them 15, it'll do this. If we pay them 8, it'll do this. So you want to be able to constantly be able to assess what your future cash flow looks like. I'm hoping to put together some kind of cash flow spreadsheets for people to use. They are quite tricky because it'll depend what system you're using in the background, but I do have some basic kind of property calculating spreadsheets available on the Rent to Rent Academy website, so check that out. And if you're really interested in systems, check out jadesimplicity.co.uk. There's some loads and loads of free resources available there, including a cash flow spreadsheet. So definitely have a check out of that. If you need any advice on who to use as a bookkeeper or accountants, send me a quick message and I'll give you the details of who we're using. Because again, I had a bookkeeper set up all of my cloud accounting software. I do the majority of it on a month-by-month basis. And if there's anything tricky that comes along, or if it gets a bit too much for me, I have the bookkeeper help me out. I've also got a virtual assistant now as well, who's getting trained up on our bookkeeping software, so that's working quite well also. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in again today. I think that's going to be it for now, because I probably bored you enough about finances and accounting, but that is what I'm focusing on today, because yeah, it's time for those annual accounts. So good luck with everything in your business. If you do have questions, just pop through a message so I know what I should be talking about in future calls. And thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow.